Hello children, it's Mr. Farrier here. Now, following on from my previous assembly, if you can remember, that was about what bullying is. This assembly is to help make sure that you always know what to do if you feel you're being bullied or you think that someone is using bullying behaviour. Now, just want to remind you that bullying means that one child is using his or her power deliberately over another to make them feel bad or small. Bullying is not having a single argument or a fight with someone, and it isn't saying something bad to someone once when you get angry, for instance. Bullying goes on deliberately, on purpose, over a period of time. And if you can remember, that key word respect is always making someone feel valued and important and not making them feel small or insignificant, which is what happens when you're being bullied by somebody else. Okay, here's the story. So I want you to imagine a school like this one. Imagine it has a playground where the children are chasing and running around, laughing. And try and see it in your mind. It looks like a really good place to be. But now imagine that you can see a child who is not laughing and playing with the others in the playground. Imagine that this child is called Laura. Laura is standing by herself, close to the wall, trying to make herself as small as possible, trying to be invisible. But it's no use. They have seen her. Natasha and her friends move slowly and deliberately towards her. When they are close, but not too close, they start. They say things about Laura, about her clothes and her hair, about her mum and her home. "We'd better not get too near to her," says Natasha. "We might catch something." Natasha does most of the talking. The others just copy her or giggle and pretend to hold their noses. Laura pushes herself back against the wall. She tries not to listen, but she's heard it all 100 times before. It's not just in the playground that they do this to her. They whisper and sneer about her in the class. They move away as if they have to stand a bit or sit by her. Sometimes they just look at her and she knows what they are thinking. They make her feel ashamed. The bell goes. Natasha and the others saunter into the classroom. Laura follows miserably behind. For days and weeks, even months, Laura does not tell anybody what Natasha and her friends are doing. She's too frightened to tell. She thinks that it will only make things worse. Sometimes she thinks it must be her own fault, but she is wrong. So let us imagine that one day Laura is so unhappy that she decides she must tell someone about it. It is very hard for her to do this, and she is frightened. She doesn't know yet that it is the very best thing in the world that she can do. The teacher that Laura talks to listens to her very carefully. Then she says, "It is really brave of you, Laura, to come and tell me how unhappy you are. Now we can start to make things better. But I want you to do one more brave thing. I want you to tell Natasha and her friends how you are feeling." But Laura shakes her head. She is much too frightened to do that. "All right then," says the teacher. "Will you let me tell them everything that you have told me? You don't have to be there." Laura nods. "That's brilliant, Laura," says the teacher. "Now we can start to make things better. Well done." Laura suddenly somehow feels a little less frightened. The teacher smiles at her and Laura smiles back. Now let's imagine the teacher's talking to Natasha and her friends. The teacher says, "Thank you for coming to this meeting. I really do need your help. I'm worried about a child in this school. She seems to be very unhappy and she has worried about it for a long time. All that time she did not tell anyone, but now she feels she can't keep it to herself any longer, and so she has told me. I am talking to you because I think that you can help me make things better for her. She thinks that nobody likes her and that she hasn't got anyone to play with or be her friend." Natasha's friends begin to look uncomfortable, but Natasha tosses her hair and looks away. "This unhappy child is Laura," says the teacher, "and I am going to tell you just how bad she is feeling." This is what Laura said. "Every day when I wake up, I feel sick. and I have a bad pain in my tummy. I never want to go to school, but Mum makes me. When I walk in the playground, I can hear my heart thumping. It hurts me in my throat. They say things about me and my mum that are horrible, and nobody ever tells them to stop. At night, I lie awake and think about what the children will say to me. Then, when I do fall asleep, I dream that I'm in the playground and everyone is saying nasty things about me, and sometimes I cry out. Then I wake up and lie in the dark again. I wish I didn't ever have to go to school again. The children look shocked and uncomfortable. One of them seems to be crying. At first, they look at the floor and wriggle on their chairs. They don't know what to say. I didn't realise she felt that bad. She never said anything, says Darren. The teacher says, well, she has told us now and we know how she feels, so we can do something about it. Can you think of anything you can do to help her feel better? Oh, I can make sure she joins in our games at break time, says Charmaine. We were only messing about, Yang Shuk says. I will tell her I am sorry and invite her home for tea. Dion says, I'm going to choose her for my partner next time we work in pairs. One by one, each of the children says what they will do to help Laura to feel better. And what about you, Natasha? Can you think of anything you can do? There is a long pause. I'll let her play with me sometimes, Natasha says. The teacher is smiling now and everyone is looking much happier. It's up to you now to make sure that Laura feels safe and happy. Do you understand? The children nod their heads. Imagine it is now 2 months later in that same school playground. Imagine that most of the children are running around happily. Imagine that you can see Laura laughing as she plays with the other children who used to be unkind to her. Imagine Natasha coming up to Laura. Do you want to play? Says Natasha. No thanks, says Laura. I'm fine. But over in the corner of the playground, imagine a boy is standing, angrily rubbing tears away from his hand. This is Alex. Alex does not want to go into class where Farouk and Matt are. He's seen enough of them for one day. He's seen enough of them forever. Every day he tries to hide, but Matt and Farouk always find him. Often they hurt him. Usually they take his tuck money. Today they wipe their muddy feet on his trousers. Imagine you're in that playground and you see what is going on. What are you going to do? Now, there is a simple 4-letter word which will help all children in this school to stop bullying. It starts with T and ends with L. What is it? That's right, tell. Tell. There are many people that you can tell if you are being bullied, and there are lots of people in the school who care about you and want you to be happy. You can go to your teacher, teaching assistants, myself, Mrs. Holliday or Mr. Riddle, but don't leave it too long, as it makes it much harder to investigate and deal with potential bullying issues. So to end my assembly, I'd like you to think about something kind that you could do or say to one or more children in the school, even if it's just only giving them a smile. Have a great week, stay safe and stay happy.